Hey guys, happy April 24th here in Omaha, Nebraska. Hey, we're trying to do one of these videos a week and just take a client question and then talk about it. So the question I got this week from a client was, hey, I'm considering forbearance. What do I need to take into consideration? That's a real good question, considering that these are stats from today. 6.4% of all U.S. mortgages in the country are currently in a forbearance status. 9% week over week increase, so 9% increase from last week. So, there's a lot of people that are in that plan. And I think there's a lot of considerations that you do need to think about before you go into a forbearance. So for one, kind of the way this whole COVID-19 thing came down and as fast as it happened, it's different than probably what it's been in the past from a forbearance perspective, meaning in the past, you would have to prove a hardship before you went into forbearance. So, hey, you would call your servicer and say, hey, I lost my job, I got hurt, I had an accident, I lost my income, whatever the case is, and actually prove that you had a consequence that would allow you to not make your payment. Right now, it's pretty much, they take your word for it. Hey, were you impacted by COVID-19? If the answer to that you say is yes, then you're going to be eligible for a forbearance in their eyes based on the CARES Act. Okay, well, what does that mean later? Like, that's what I think people need to think about, because I think people think of this somewhat as a skip a payment coupon on a car loan. Hey, it's December, my bank sent me a skip a coupon payment where I have to make a payment this month, and they just add it to the end of the loan, we'll go from there. Well, that's not what a forbearance is. I mean, a forbearance is you truly had a hardship, your servicer is giving you a period of time to get yourself back in order, and then you're gonna have to deal with those ramifications. My worry with clients is if you didn't truly have a hardship, when that 3-month or 6-month period comes up, like if you can't prove you had a hardship, the ramifications for that are, hey, look, well, you owe the money. We're not going to be as forgiving if you truly didn't have a hardship. We're not just going to add it to the end of the loan, which is what I think a lot of people think. So the things that I think that you need to think about if you're considering forbearance is, one, did you truly have a hardship? Like, can you make your payments? If the answer to that is you can, you should, because you truly didn't have a hardship. If you can't, then yes, then you've got to take this stuff into consideration. Other things that I think you take into consideration is, are you planning on selling your home? Now that sounds kind of weird, but if you're in a forbearance plan and you go to sell your home and you come to a lender to get a new loan, you're not going to get a new loan because you're in a forbearance. Like you're kind of technically in default on your loan because you're outside of the terms of your agreement. So now your plan may be to sell the house and buy a new one, and you're going to have a problem with that. Like, you're going to have a problem with the lender giving you a loan. Are you thinking about refinancing your loan, or is that a possibility? Same thing with that. Like, if you come to a lender and you're currently in a forbearance status, you can't refinance your loan. So now maybe your rate's higher, which means your payment's higher, and you can't refinance your loan. Maybe a better strategy in that case is, hey, I'm going to refinance, I'm going to take a lower rate if I can, and I'm going to skip a payment or two in my refinance process. So those are things that I would consider. I think the other thing to consider is, what is a modification going to look like? The assumption with modifications is that just add it to the end of the loan. Well, that's not necessarily what a modification is. The modification that your servicer may have could be completely different than what you think. It could be, hey, we're going to take this payments that you owe us, and we're going to add it to each payment for the next 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 1 year to get you caught back up. And some of that will depend on what your true hardship was. So I think those are things that clients of mine, that we have those conversations, I tell them to consider in the process. So hopefully that helps clarify some things. We'd love to hear from you, so give us some feedback on our video. Thanks.